Hi, everyone. My name is Tharmila Rajasingam. You're watching Realtor Parent Series, and where we connect with real estate agents around the world about everything work and family life. And today we're going to be diving deep into real stories. And today we have Michael Samrah. He's a broker of record at Get Sold Realty from the Greater Toronto area. And we're going to be talking about his family setting and how he's juggling real estate and work. And so thank you so much, Michael, for joining me today. I loved your Instagram and your social media and the content that you were putting out. And I was wondering, how is this guy juggling everything? So I wanted to hear from you. So can we just jump into giving everyone a little bit of a background about who you are, how long have you been in real estate? And then we'll get into some more questioning about family and life balance.
Sure, definitely, yeah. Michael Samrah, as you mentioned, I'm in Toronto area. I've been in real estate for 12 years. Before I got into real estate, I was a commercial plumber. So my wife was pregnant with our first child. We were about to give birth. I told her I'm quitting my job. I'm going to take a real estate license. I'm going to get into real estate.
Wow.
So while she was on mat leave, I literally had no income. She had a little bit from her job and I was taking the courses. That's how I kind of got into real estate. So when people say, oh, when's the best time to get into it? I picked probably the worst time ever to get into it, which was, kind of a roller coaster ride. But wow. It makes you what you are today, right? So
absolutely, and you're smiling, so you're doing pretty well, I can tell. So
yeah, I enjoy what I do.
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
And you're right now with your real estate. What kind of work do you do in real estate?
So I do residential, mostly residential. I do a little bit of commercial, but I farm an area. So I primarily flyer. I call the area, I door knock, I do events. So I focus on a farm area, and the area is actually the area I grew up in. So my parents still live here, very familiar with it. This office here is in the farm area that I have. So that's how I primarily do my business in the community here, and try to touch as many people as I can throughout.
And when you decided to even just get into real estate, so what were the type of conversation you and your wife were having, especially that you guys were in the middle of like starting a family and her going on mat leave?
Yeah, it was funny because I said, I think I'd be good in real estate. And she agreed with me. She said, sure. Yeah, I think you'd be good at it too, if that's what you want to do. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. And so during that actual year that I was getting my license, I had to support a new kid, and my wife was not getting most benefits will top the job. She didn't get topped up. So I think she only got 40 or 60% of her pay. So I had to figure a way to make money. And during that time, I actually started a vending company. So I would be putting vending machines in warehouses, pop machines, snack machines, with another buddy of mine who was actually a cop. And I was a vending broker. I would sell routes of these vending machines to people who wanted to get into the vending business, and $60,000, $80,000 routes I was selling to these people. It's funny because I went back to, I said, like, Melanie, I said, my wife's name is Melanie. I said, weren't you worried? Something was going to, we were going to make ends meet or something was going to happen. She goes, yeah, I was worried, but you're a hustler. I know that you'll figure a way out to do it. And I had faith in you and knew that we'll figure some way out. So I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. So, and we ended up doing it. Yeah. So, through that time, got my license. And then once I got my license, I was making millions of dollars and everything was great.
Oh yeah. That's what they make you believe, right?
That's what they make you believe. Yeah. As soon as you get your license, you get the Mercedes, you get the fancy suits, and that's it. It's like you're good to go, right? So, it was
further from the truth. So true. Yes. And I wanted to ask, where did you get this real estate idea to begin with?
I always had it. So I was a plumber, and I vividly remember this moment. I was on one of those scissor lifts. I did commercial. So I was at Yonge and Dundas Square, where the City TV is right now.
Yep.
So I did that building from the ground all the way up. And I was on a lift. It was just after lunchtime, and I was hanging those people who know plumbing, I was hanging some 6-inch cast iron drainage pipes above. I was by myself. And I remember thinking to myself, there's more to this than there's more to this than me. There's more out there for me than just this. And I'm like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. I don't enjoy it. It was fun for a bit, but I have more potential in me than this. And it's not to put down anybody who's in the trades. I think trades are a
Absolutely.
great thing. It's just for me, I felt that this wasn't my path.
Yeah.
And I vividly remember that. I remember that day so etched in my head.
Wow.
And basically said that I'm done. I'm going to take the real estate courses and go through this process. And that's pretty much that was that pivotal moment.
Yeah. And that's so inspiring because you sometimes people keep hearing their own voices and they don't take it seriously or they don't take up on that and be more aware of their own calling almost, right? And
Yep.
you seem like a very people person. Your podcast and your content, you have really good, strong communication skill. It's like
Thank you.
perfect for this industry. So hey, why not? And I'm really glad that your partner and like your wife gave you a chance and said, hey, I'm in it, whatever this crazy idea you have, the craziest part of your life. Like I'm glad that you took upon it and you're 12 years in. That's awesome. I kind of now looking and getting into this, how are you doing everything right now and juggling everything? And so how many kids do you have?
So I have 3 kids. I have a son and 2 daughters, and they're all 18 months apart.
You're crazy like us. Mine is 14 months apart.
Yes. So ours are 18 months apart.
Risky.
So basically, let's go back to it. My wife goes back to work, and while I'm doing these courses, she's like, well, it makes sense for you to stay home and watch our son. So I'm like, okay, so I'm doing these courses, staying home, and basically get my license. And my wife worked at York University. She was in the procurement, so she had a higher up job. So she had to be at work at 8:30, and she got home roughly at 6 o'clock, finished at 5 or whatever. So from an early, right on the onset, my job had revolved around the kids. So basically what that meant is that I had to make sure when, I dropped them off at daycare, I picked them up from daycare. I was the one that would drop them off at school, and I had to make sure I was home in time to pick them up from school, pick them up from daycare, be home. My wife would prepare dinner, I'd get it all out. But from an early onset, I was always scheduled around the kids. Everything kind of, it's funny how you look back and it all fell into place because so the time I was at work, I really had to make sure I worked, right? I had to make sure that I did what I need to do and crammed it in those hours that I had available. It didn't all, there was times I was running late, calling the school, I'll be there in 10 minutes. I was doing a showing downtown. There's traffic, but for the most part, my schedule was always around the kids. And it still is to this day around the kids, right? And that's so people don't realize in this business is that, you do truly control your schedule.
100%.
Or the schedule controls you.
Yeah. And I think that if you find a really happy medium about how much you pour into it, but I think, some of my agents and I talk about this, that being consistent is so important, but consistent in the right things, right?
Yes.
And my husband, we're both in real estate as well. We're both real estate agents. And my husband, we both actually we're fairly newer agents, and we were actually investors at the beginning, and we were managing on portfolios, and we were looking to partner and JV with other people. And we realized that there's more to this, and and we always felt like our 9 to 5, we loved what we were doing. I was doing marketing consulting for a number of years for government and not-for-profit, and I realized that I loved what I was doing, but I wasn't seeing the true impact of what I was doing, and it felt like things weren't arm reach. And I realized, and then when we had children, somehow all the things you love doing, it feels so much more different when you have someone you're working towards, right? And people, and you're so right when you say everything revolves around our kids. So it's always about, and we just recently put them in daycare, by the way, because we had 2 little ones. We had a nanny here, and because of COVID, things were closing all the time. And with daycare, if you paid something, you can't get a refund on it. Where a nanny, we can pay as we go. If they don't show up, they don't show up. So we had a little bit more structured around that, and we had some situations where we had to put them in daycare for a little bit. But again, it's just like juggling schedule, right? So speaking about scheduling, what does your schedule looks like right now on a daily or weekly basis?
So right now that things kind of are getting back to normal where we are, pretty much I drop my son off for the bus for about 7 in the morning. The school he goes to, he gets bussed into there. And then I usually, I go to the gym in the morning, do what I have to do at the gym. And then I'm usually at my office by 9 o'clock. By between 9 and 9:30, I'm at this office, do what I have to do here, whether, there's certain days I'm doing my prospecting, there's showings, offer, whatever I have to do. And then pretty much I'm done by 3 o'clock. I'm home by 3 o'clock. I pick up my son from the bus. And then my daughters get home at around 3:50, 4 o'clock. I'm home. We usually have dinner all together as a family. And then it's the evening, the evening mayhem that starts. My middle daughter plays competitive hockey, so she's on the ice 4 nights a week. My
Wow.
son does competitive taekwondo, so he's at to the dojo 3-4 times a week. And then my youngest daughter is playing soccer on Saturdays. So for me, I'm, Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm going to York University, dropping somebody off at the ice rink, going back to the dojo, going back to pick them up, and I do all that stuff in the evenings.
Wow. And how do you keep your, I guess, schedule contained between this kind of 9 to 3 o'clock, I guess, for real estate? Do you ever go outside of that? What if you have a showing?
100%. I do.
Yeah.
And there's definitely, if I have to do it, yeah, I'll let my wife know. Listen, I gotta go to a listing appointment at 5 o'clock today. No problem. Then she does what she has to do. My wife doesn't work anymore. So now my wife is home. So she helps out. She helps out with some of my business stuff to a certain degree as well. But for the most part, yeah, I want to make sure that I'm there. And that's the one thing I said when I got out of plumbing is that when I was working in plumbing, before that, I was working at a power plant in Brampton, and I was doing that power plant, and I would wake up at 5 a.m. and I wouldn't get home till 7 p.m. And
wow.
there was nothing. And I that's something I said, I want to have breakfast with the kids. I want to be able to take them to school.
Absolutely.
Now that they're older, I don't want to have breakfast with them, and I wish they can take themselves to school, but that's a whole different story. But no, with respects to that, it's like, yeah, I wanted to be around. I didn't want to just always be working in that sense. So yeah, there's the flexibility with what I do now. I can try to control it as much as I can. That's why I try to pack everything into, my day, right? So
Yes.
by 3-4 o'clock. And the reality is that, as realtors, I think we like to think we're always busy. We're not always busy. Like, I mean, if you're doing like I prospect, so I cold call a lot. So if I do 2 hours of cold calling 3 days a week, that's probably more work than most people are doing at this point. Prospecting, going to find clients, going to meet with clients, going to do that kind of stuff. I mean, if you really wrote down everything throughout your day, I would, there's really not a ton of real hard work involved in it, right? So I condense it all. I try to do as much as I can in those days. I try to book my appointments throughout the afternoon, through the day. Stuff that has to go into the evenings, I definitely do accommodate. It's not an issue. And then the weekends, I try to hold my weekends to myself. I try not to do anything on the weekends. So
yeah, that's really good perspective. And is there any systems or tools you're using right now to make sure that you and your wife are on the same page? Or even, do you work with any other real estate agents do you have a team right now?
no, I don't. So I'm looking at doing something that along the ways. Okay. And back to, wanting getting into real estate. When I got into real estate, I always wanted to have my own brokerage. So, going through COVID and unfortunately seeing, some family members and friends that have passed away because of circumstances, I was like, I need to go do what I want to do now, because I don't know if there is a tomorrow, right? So that's why I decided to open up my own brokerage, and I'm in the process of doing that. But scheduling, sharing calendars is huge. Me and my wife share calendars all the time. So if I have an appointment, it goes in the calendar. She'll know that I have an appointment, or there's a practice tonight, or whatever. Everything is in the calendar. We share everything, so we know where we're at. So
that's awesome. And you said your wife now is kind of helping you with your real estate. Like, when did that start happening? More recently?
Just gradually. Like, she'll help me with some of my, helps me with maybe my newsletters that I send out and stuff along those lines. So slowly getting involved in it. And for the most part, she has her own stuff that she's doing as well. So
awesome. And then you most often with whether it's family or real estate related, do you both make a lot of decisions together?
Yeah, to a certain degree, we try to do that. I try, she runs the house and everything else, right? So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for what she does. We just went tubing on Sunday. She's the one, we're gonna go Sunday. We're gonna go tubing with the kids. Okay, no problem. Sounds good. And she schedules it all and does stuff like that. So yeah, I tried. She's an amazing partner to have, an amazing mom, amazing wife to do. So I'm grateful that I have that in my life, because that is what grounds a lot of who I am as well. So
yeah, and I love to, when I talk about family and even couples and partners who are kind of diving and working together, because we're self-employed, we're entrepreneurs. So it makes a huge impact in the person that you're partnered with, but making sure that you're both on the same page. Yeah. And I have, I've been like my own friends, but even some of the investors that we've been in touch with, they want to do a lot of hardcore investing, and they're in meetup groups, and I'm talking like pre-COVID, and their partners were like, where are you? No, I'm not up for this investment. You got to talk to me. And sometimes they will go put offers on properties and their partners aren't on the same page with. And so that's why I'm really happy that you have someone that's kind of more grounded and is taking care of the family part. And then you both kind of collaborate together doing real estate. And when there's, I guess, what are some challenges that I guess you guys face as a family?
Oh, well, the last couple of years have been a lot of challenges, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, before COVID, we would have dinner every single night together at the table. During COVID, because they're in their rooms, they would, you slowly start to get where they start to, eat in their rooms. Okay, we got whatever. Yeah. So it's trying to get back to that, the way normalcy was in our household. The challenges is scheduling. It's always been scheduling. We have three that are all over the place, and there's only two of us. So sometimes, the grandparents are always helpful on both sides, which is great. We're thankful for that. And but yeah, it's scheduling. It's sometimes, two people can't be in three different places at the same time, and that's where it becomes hard. Saturdays, my youngest one has soccer at 12, my son has hockey practice at 11, and then my daughter has a hockey game, my other one. So that hockey game could be in Barrie or Scarborough. So we're, scheduling is always a difficult time. Scheduling for me can be difficult. My wife will have to sometimes, okay, we need to take, I understand you're working, but yeah, we gotta, take some time, or we're going to do this weekend, or let's go wait. We have a cottage, so we'll go to the cottage for the weekend, take some time off. And then I'm also noticed I need to, I need to schedule time for myself. So there are days where I just don't feel it. I'll stay in bed all day. I'm going to take the day off. I don't have it. I need a day of rest. Or if you're working really hard all day and you're doing a couple offers in the evening and stuff like it takes a lot out of you. Right. So I'll take a day to recoup. Right. So.
Absolutely. One of my closest friend ever told me is when I just first gave birth to my first son, and I was just, and I didn't have a lot of help. And I was just like, whoa, this is so much. And I was, my own thoughts going into my head, and I was struggling with being a new parent and putting all these unexpected, I think unrealistic expectations on myself to be this perfect mom. And my friend said to me, no, you need to take care of yourself. It's not always about the baby. And that if they don't, your child doesn't have the mom, then you're not doing whatever that you're doing the right way anyway. And I'm just like, whoa. So I think when you talk about, putting time in for yourself is huge. And what I think one of the things that I don't want it to go unmissed here is that even at the beginning, when you got into real estate, had a family, and the fact that you're a father taking on that role of kind of jumping in and saying, you know what, I'm going to be home and I'm going to be taking care of my children. That's huge. A lot of people aren't first talk about it. They're not proud to say it, or they don't, that isn't even an option for them sometimes, depending on whether it's culturally or family pressure. So I'm really glad that
it's not easy. It was not easy. And the moms that are out there that do that day in and day out, I give them a ton of credit. It is difficult, then when I started the second one, I know my wife would come, okay, here, I got home from doing whatever, here, you're taking the kids, and you don't understand it. I just got home, you're pawning now the kids off me. You need a break. Come on, you've been home all day, but it is a lot to handle. It is a lot and the reality is for the most part, it's, the women who are taking it on. Right. So, physically, mentally, emotionally, it's a lot for them to take on. And, even though they're older, when they were home, my wife would, get them up, prepare breakfast for them. She was like a personal chef. Breakfast. Okay, guys, lunchtime. She had lunch for them. And so she's been wanting to see the Scream movie for the longest of times. And the theaters just opened up. So she said, on the week, I booked tickets. I'm going by myself on Monday to watch it. I said, no problem. I'll pick up the kids. I'll be fine. I'll pick up dinner and whatever happens to be. So yeah, I think it's very important that you have to realize that things won't continue unless if I'm not here.
Absolutely.
So I need to ensure that I'm still here in best form and in best health and best mental state and all that other stuff, because otherwise this whole machine doesn't work.
100%. And whatever life that you're working towards doesn't matter anyway, because what if you don't get there?
Exactly.
And
it's not about getting there. It's just about enjoying and improving small increments of yourself. Right. And that's the idea.
100%. I know. I think that's really good that you touched upon that too. Often we focus so much on the destination, but we forget about kind of the journey that kind of takes us there. Right. And our children grow so fast. I still remember so vividly my first my first son's birth that I sometimes forget that he's 2.5. Like I just can't imagine that,
Yeah.
and it happens so quickly and there's so
It
little.
happens very quick. So mine are 11, 9, 11, and 13. And I'll get, my wife will send me like our Facebook memories or whatever when they were like so tiny. Like, oh my God. And I remember that. And I remember the good times, but I remember the frustrations as well. And you look back on it like, why, it was chaotic, it was messy, it was loud, it still is, but you look back at it like, oh, you sometimes wish you maybe cherished it a little bit more, right?
So true. So true. My husband and I often were like, oh, we got to be gentle. We have to be gentle with each other because we get, when they're so little, I think also we had this, everyone does. And I will tell you this from conversations with younger parents now and us having children, we're like, whoa, we had a completely different idea of what parenthood would be like because we put ourselves in our parents' shoe, which was very different times. My mom had my aunt, my grandma walking in and out, taking care of the kids, very different, right? And I didn't know even, that's why I don't want to talk too much about pregnancy and breastfeeding and all that stuff. Like nobody ever thought that to me. And I didn't, and for me, it's like my dad went to work, my mom stayed at home, took care of the children. It's not like that anymore. I gave birth and I have to go back to work. My husband had a full-time job, completely different. And that's why, when you have a partner who's on the same page as you and you're kind of juggling together, it's huge. So I wanted to get kind of into the last portion of our conversation is if you have any advice for couples that are thinking about pursuing a career in real estate or while even are already in real estate, but thinking about having a family, like what would you say to them?
Everything works out in the end.
Yeah.
Everything will work out in the end, how you need to work out. I think I've had this conversation with numerous people. I think at least I am fortunate to be in the industry that I'm in because I'm on a journey to always self-improve, whether it's personally, whether it's business. If I don't improve, my business fails. I truly see that. So I can't be complacent in where I am. So I'm always looking to move some type of step forward. So no matter whether you get into the business, just understand that you're never going to know everything. And it's a continuous learning process. And there is no destination. The destination, the pin is always moving. The moment that pin does not move for you is the moment you become complacent and you stop growing in personally, professionally, whatever it happens to be. So I look at it in my own self. Now I'm on this venture of a brokerage and then the venture of going elsewhere and then venture of this. And it's the journey that I've learned to enjoy. And it's irrelevant of what destination happens because in life, the destination can always change, and it always does change. Especially for young parents, you get into the routine. Okay, they're on this nap time. That doesn't last forever because then the nap stops, and now this happens, and it's like, oh my God, we just got into this routine. We were like, and that's synonymous for life, though. That's exactly what happens because they're never going to stay that age and never going to have that same nap schedule. They're not going to have this same daytime schedule. Then things change, and it's always changing. And I think the moment we realize that we need to always be on the fly sometimes and understand that things are continuously changing. And the only thing I can really control is my reaction to what changes. Can't control how to control the change. I just can control my reaction. And then once I learn that I can control my reaction, then I've got the control of everything else, right? So that's
100%. And I feel like when you're a parent, for example, and and even the smallest thing, I'm talking like you put them down for sleep, you walk away, they wake up, and all of a sudden you feel like everything's collapsing down on you, right? All of a sudden you feel like all this thing you worked for, and you realize they just woke up, just put them back to sleep. It's not a big deal. And then you forget that how grateful you are to be in that situation, to have this moment with a human being that you raised and that you brought into this world, and you realize how grateful that is. And I'm so glad that you talked about, this idea about not just our reaction to these things, but also, having just even an open mind, have an open heart about all of the challenges too, right? I think that we often get so caught up in all the little things that may go wrong. Like, I think that's what you just said, things will work out in the end because we tend to overthink everything, right? We tend to overcomplicate things when things are simply natural. And I think the industry also, and I think society, and I think this time and ever, there's so many self-help content out there that people think that you need to put yourself together in this perfect world when whatever you're going through is natural, just get through it. It's fine, when
It's about getting through it. Nothing is perfect. My household is not perfect. I'm not calm and cool at home. This is not who I am. I'm the one that's yelling. My wife is the one who understands how to get to where, but I'm more of a reactor. I react a lot more. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's how it is sometimes. So understanding that everybody's going through it.
You got it.
Everybody's going through it. It's funny because when I was in high school, you would look at all the popular kids, right? And you'd say, my God, they have it all together. They're so confident. Oh my God, I wish I could be that person. And you realize that back then, that person was just as insecure as you were. Your perception of them was different. But in their head, they were just as insecure. They were just as unsure of things as you were. And that's the thing. Nobody has it together. Everybody has challenges, whether you have billions of dollars, whether you have a family, you don't have a family, you're married, you're single, whether it's irrelevant. Everybody's going to go through challenges. And that's one thing that you have to learn to overcome and understand that you're not alone in that. There's always challenges, no matter who you are.
I love that. Beautifully, beautifully said. Thank you, honestly, Michael, for spending time with me today, and for being super transparent about your personal life with your family and how you're juggling real estate and family. And I would love to, continue chatting about this more. This is an amazing conversation. And for anyone who wants to get in touch with Michael, whether it's about whether it's about buying, selling, investing, whether it's about partnering with him, I'll leave his content, his information in our description below. And if you have any questions as well, leave in the comment section below. I'll make sure to pass it on to Michael. Thank you so much, Michael, for spending this time with me. I truly appreciate it. This is truly awesome. And I really want to shine a light to all the parents that are doing such an amazing job, kind of pouring into their family the way that you are. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. This has been awesome. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Michael.